What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. This month is a very special month. This marks the 3-year anniversary that I have come out. And today we're gonna go over all of the physical changes I've gone through before, throughout, and after. I have filmed this video for an hour and my hair looked awful. Hopefully this is gonna work. Maybe that's the next journey, actually getting your hair to work properly. In May of 2018, I made the conscious decision to become a woman. I was at the ripe old age of 19. I just missed not having to go through a male puberty. Great choice on my part. Maybe just a little bit of background. I started to develop feelings when I was about 10, 11, 12, was sort of like the main sort of part, I guess you could say, when puberty started, I suppose. But I do remember even earlier than that, there were instances. There was one time when, as being in a private school, I do remember seeing myself in like a girl's uniform with like a skirt and like tights and stuff like that. And I started to wonder like, how would I look? And then there was another time, for some reason, I was curious. I shaved the hair on my arms. My sisters and I think my mom noticed and they asked me about it. And I was so embarrassed. I like locked myself in my room. I held the door shut. What seemed to happen was I was sort of very conscious at the time that you'll get made fun of or you'll get shamed or this is not good. Certain stuff you do basically when you're a boy. And so you don't want to be not cool. You don't want to be the one people laugh at. Things get a lot more confusing when you're attracted to the gender that you identify as. By the time I was 15, I was seriously considering to transition or not. And it took 4 more years to finally decide that this is the best place to be, the only place to be. A lot of things have changed about my body and we're gonna go through all of them. We're gonna talk about aesthetic stuff and also, I guess, biological stuff when we get into hormones and all of that. So if you do not know anything about me in particular, my name is DIMITRIA SPARROW and I'm here to help mostly trans women, cross-dressers, or if you're born male presenting yourself in a feminine way to feminize your features, whatever those features may be. Hormone changes. I transitioned at the age of 19. Within the summer of that year, I began taking testosterone blockers, and by October of 2018, I began taking estrogen. Estrogen changes your body like no other animal, girl. One of the big evident things you start to notice is body fat distribution. This is stuff I want to get into that if you are not on HRT, but you want to get sort of the benefits, like hip enhancers, butt enhancers, or breast forms. That's a lot of stuff actually estrogen can take care of. Trans girls have really skinny legs, like literally skinny. Like say this is like the thigh, with like a cis woman, it'll be like that, but it's just like a straight board, like it's a stick. It's because no body fat kind of goes there. It's all going to your belly button region. Fat starts to come in at close to your upper thigh. And then when you're like sitting over, say these are my knees right here, it's like you'll find gravity starts to somewhat sag your legs after a while. And I didn't notice it would actually do this thing, but your hips get a lot of help. I was under the impression your hips sort of come from what your bones are, but actually when your body fat sort of like travels or forms in these certain areas, your hips go from like this to like that. Even when I'm in certain basic work jeans, you see the hips. Even within like a blue collar job, I notice this sort of feminine thing about me. Skin softening. This is evidently true. Big thing I notice in my face. If you've come from a place where you've never worn makeup before and you're trying to get rid of your facial hair by laser hair removal, it starts to have an effect on it. At this rate, I can't shave every day. Can't happen. Because the softening here, it's almost like this skin is not meant to have these things coming out of it. It's not meant to have a blade go across it every single time. It's not meant for that. Hair growth deeply, deeply decreases once you're on estrogen. The big thing that you start to notice is that whatever is conspicuous in public life, you want to be able to do more maintenance on those areas. So for me, I wore cardigans most of the time, so I had wrist hair, knuckle hair, and in dresses like this, your chest hair starts to flow in the wind. Those things, you had to check up on them every 2 or 3 days to make sure you didn't have a hairy chest in a dress. With hormones, I could go 7 to 10 days, doesn't even appear. Boobs, I have boobs now. This is something that a lot of people don't understand. Estrogen gives you boobs. It literally grows you boobs. A lot of times things got really swollen. It's not that it's like it hurts, like it's throbbing, but whenever you give someone a hug, you're gonna start to avoid people. Even at this point in time, if I press, you can feel the swelling. Like you can feel like it hasn't settled. Skin starts to peel as if it's like forming new tissue. I think in my bra size, I am roughly a 32 B cup. That doesn't bode well when you see relatives. You basically present male, which is becoming harder and harder to do. That baggy shirt that you wear to basically conceal your new boobs isn't cutting it anymore. It's gonna show through, and you've kind of messed with their head a slight when they're from like the 1940s. So yeah, so I might have to research binding. Look out for a video on that. Emotional changes. I can't quite put my finger on it, but okay, how do I explain it? I cry more. Crazily. I still have a crazy temper, which I don't show to you, but I do have it. I do cry a lot more, but what that really means is it's kind of like a shallow perspective to think that the more you cry, the sort of weaker you are. The thing is, you can be extroverted with your emotions or introverted with them. There were probably 2 or 3 movies when I was a guy that I used to cry in. Now it's something like, I think last time I checked, 32 of them. It happens all the time. And sex drive, we're getting graphic now. You get into, as a man, you get into a state. And that state happens 1 to 2 times a day. That state, I think last time I checked, it happens bi-weekly now. At points you just don't care. It increases your workflow. It makes you a harder working person because you take less breaks. Voice transition. Now we're getting outside of hormones. This is something that hormones does not change. It will not help you if you have gone through a male puberty. I believe it has something to do with your vocal cords have thickened to a certain degree that estrogen will not unthicken them. I have done various recordings over the past 3 years as to what my voice sounds like. I still tend to do it bi-weekly to see the various changes, and I highly recommend you do that as well. Take it away. Here is what I used to sound like.
Okay, so it is April 22nd, so this is my regular voice right now. It's May 7th, and this is my regular voice now. Okay, so this is my regular voice. Okay, so this is my masculine voice. Okay, so this is my regular 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 voice right now. Sometimes I wonder how me and Riley ended up being friends in the first place, since we're so different. It's not like I'm watching a lot of television these days anyway. Mom is pretty worried about Manny and his social skills, and she doesn't like he could smell damp and he could not smell bat guano, both old and fresh. But most important of all, he could smell rabbit. Okay, it is July 9th. It is a Thursday. I haven't done this in a long time. So we got an update.
All right, so it is September 14th, 2020. I wonder if my voice has changed since July 9th. Okay, so it is March 1st of 2021, and this is basically what my voice sounds like. So it is April 28th of 2021. It is nearing May, the 3rd year of my transition, and this is basically what I sound like. It is very, very, very easy to get discouraged with voice transition. It's almost like it's not incredibly difficult. It is just such a journey. It takes literally years in my experience with a professional helping you along the way. It is also very expensive to be able to see a professional, and they can guide you on your specific needs, and time consuming. It takes at least a half an hour every day to thoroughly practice your vocal cords and change them. And also keeping that certain voice on all day with everyone you speak to. So it's very easy to get discouraged in that regard. I actually do remember speaking to my speech therapist. I sent an email and I said, I feel like I'm getting nowhere. This was like a year and a half ago. I feel like I'm getting nowhere. I feel like these exercises aren't helping me. I'm not noticing a change. I just need some assurance that this is gonna work. And I also said stuff like, if you're saying more sessions, then that's not gonna work because you're really expensive. But the thing is, it actually was working. I always say this, like 98% of how you pass is your voice. And within that time, that's when I started getting called she far more often. Hair length. What a lot of us don't really know is how to make short hair kind of feminine, because you're kind of taught not to, right? I do remember, I started like right here. I do remember I dyed it black, I dyed it blonde at one point. What I ended up doing was I took like gel, I sort of feathered out that area to where it could give some lift, some volume instead of just being all flat. And then the problem also is once you're at like chin length, it makes this whole thing level. And when your jaw length is an area that you do not prefer, you're basically emphasizing that, in that your hair is ending right there. It's very unflattering and it's a pain in the ass to have to go through. If you've ever shared a shower with a girl, the first thing that comes to your mind is, how in the holy motherfuck is there so much hair everywhere? You start to do it and you're like, oh, clogged the sink again. Okay, I'm just pulling it all out. Oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. And then you are washing your behind and you're like, oh, there's more. Yeah, take care of longer hair. There's a ton of other problems that can happen when you have hair this old still on you. You can burn it really easily. You can use poor shampoo. You may not be conditioning your hair properly. Leave it in for a minute or two. Don't just rinse it off once you've put it in, and use hair masks. Use treatments. There are a lot of things that can go wrong with long hair, and it takes a long time. It takes 2 to 3 years to be able to get the hair length that I have. I've cut it, I think, twice just for dead ends. That is not something you want to be able to like, oh, I'll just snip it off. Gotta wait for it to grow again. No, be sure to take care of your hair. And I've noticed recently I wear ponytails too much. I actually am getting some pain in the front edges. I have to watch out for that because I do not want the front of this hair to start falling out. The front part of your hair, those hair strands are very, very gentle. Make sure your hair is down quite a bit, because sometimes too much of a ponytail can make you look like Jojo Siwa. I love you, but your hair is mad at you. Facial hair is one of the most annoying, obnoxious, dysphoria-inducing things I have ever had to deal with. Hormones slow down the growth of facial hair, and I'm currently using at-home laser hair removal. We have a specific gun that is apparently one of the only medical grade ones. I do 250 shots of it. My girlfriend does it on me. It is unbelievably painful. I hate it, and to be honest, I'm not convinced it has done a thing. I feel like hormones have done most of the work, and when COVID returns, I'm going to go to one of the proper ones in Toronto, and I'm gonna get this done for good, because this has no business in my life. A lot of body mods are really popular within the queer community. It is kind of a lot of identity affirmation. I used to have what were called angel bites. I believe this one's a Monroe, this one's a Madonna. They were two piercings above my lip, on my upper lip. And I also had my septum done, which you can actually see in my older videos about 6 to 9 months ago. I got my earrings done very, very quickly. I think that was within, well, I came out in May, so that was probably May or June that would have happened. With your earrings, be hygienic and do not replace them until after 4 months. I am comfortable saying that because I feel like every trans woman I know has earring problems, and I do too. What you have to do is, even on well-healed earrings, mine are now healed, you need to clean the earrings first. I mean, mine are healed now, so I can do this. I would take rubbing alcohol, I just wipe that area, because what happens is, even if you're well-healed and the earrings are not fully cleaned at the moment, start to get a little itching. There's a lot of horrible jewelry out there that you might be switching to. Even the stuff at Hot Topic and Spencer's is meant to be used for fully healed, non-problematic, like if you're not allergic to anything, people. Be very conscious of that, because that could be one of the most annoying things, having to deal with crappy earrings and a non-healed body mod. I did have these two, and that I wanted to look kind of cat-like. The thing is, my style has changed, and we're going to get right into style change. For one thing, I did have my septum. I took this out because I wanted to get laser hair removal done, and whenever you shave, the Monroes are right in the middle of your upper lip, the part where I get the most facial hair, and that was very problematic. I got rid of it mostly just for that. Maybe if I get all my facial hair gone, I might get that back again. The septum I took off because at my work, they don't want piercings. I take my earrings off when I'm at work, and it sucks, but work is work. Style change is a big thing, and I tried to figure out what to recommend to people when they're trying to figure out their style. In my experience, in my 3 years of experience having transitioned, the best advice I could give you is make sure to pick a style, but make sure you eventually get away from the punk alternative style. That style, it seems to be within the queer community at this period of time. It's almost like this decade's style for queer people. It's colored hair, it's body mods, it's collars, a lot of that stuff. In my first year, I used to be quite the goth girl. I had my piercings in, I had my black hair, I got scene hair done, all of that good stuff. I wore heavy eyeliner, very pale makeup. You can wear whatever you want to wear, but if you're concerned about it, a lot of punk alternative styles, it's the easiest style to look cheap in and look tacky. The thing that people associate with punk looks or goth looks is a teenager. And this is a big thing that you start to figure out when you're trans, start to dress as your age. And so if your first instinct when you're out is to go to Spencer's and Hot Topic, it looks like you're putting on a caricature. We perceive femininity and masculinity as like very young things, especially femininity. If you're going with big, bold, like young femininity, when you're older than that, it looks like a caricature. A lot of teen stuff, a lot of puerile sort of dress is very cheap looking. I kind of grew out of that, and also a lot of bright colors do not tend to be very flattering. I find black in a lot of, it's crazy because I'm wearing black right now, and red. Black is very easy to look very harsh. The thing is, we kind of characterize masculinity and femininity. Femininity is like round, soft lines. Masculinity is like jagged edges. The thing we associate with femininity is a lot of peach and pinks, a lot of like neutral sort of colors. With masculinity, it could be a lot of black. And so, if you wear too much black, that could almost masculinize you instead of feminize you. So that is one thing I would suggest to you. That is something I kind of got out of. And the thing is, I was always into poofy stuff, cutesy stuff. I like sissy things. I like pink stuff. I sort of gravitate towards, you know, the goth emo stuff, and also the really soft, you know, traditionally sort of feminine looking kind of things. And now I think as a young adult, I'm 22, I find my style has sort of become, it's sort of like I dressed as a teenager, and now I'm dressing like a young adult. A lot of stuff I put on now tends to be more on that elegant side, and it looks like it's better material. And that's also the thing, a lot of goth stuff is made of shitty material. It's easy to make, it's easy to buy, very cheap, very easy to look cheap, because a lot of that stuff is made for kids. And so a lot of the colors I tend to gravitate towards a little bit now. We've got a little bit of blues, we got some white, some beige. I want to expand on a lot of those colors in my sort of wardrobe. Putting in 100%, this was something I wrote down. One of the sad truths about being transgender, you start to figure out, if I don't put in 100% all the time, people are gonna misgender you. I've noticed this, the transphobia I experienced when I was in retail, it always happened when I didn't put on foundation that day. Always happened. When I put a foundation on, it did happen, but not to the same degree whatsoever when I didn't doll myself up. It's not fair, it's not cool. This is a sad reality that like trans girls feel like they have to do. When people knew you beforehand, they start to, it can be confusing for them, because there are times when you've dolled yourself up and then you look like kind of a different person. But then on your off day, when you're just trying to be comfortable, you're tired, they see the same person they've always seen. And so the pronouns are very confusing to them, because you kind of have to be consistent. Working in retail for 2 years, my sympathy goes out to you if you feel like you've dolled yourself up for 3 hours and then you still get served. My sympathy is all out to you, because I know what that was like. It feels as if it's like I might as well have not even done anything, because I would have gotten the same result. But a lot of this stuff is, to be honest, it's very, very difficult to be absolutely fully passable. A lot of it, I will say again, once my voice started going a little higher, the misgendering went down. One of the things I'm very thankful for is I've gotten to a point where I don't have to wear makeup or dress super feminine. I don't get misgendered. I think it happens like 5% of the time now. And it takes a lot of weight off your shoulders to be validated in my own existence. I have to put in 2 to 3 hours every single day. And at this point, it's almost like, oh, I can go with or without, and then I'll get the same result from the outside world. Name change and gender change. I have done the legal of that. On my health card, on my birth certificate, it says Dimitria Sadie Sparrow. It's got an F instead of an M. The name change wasn't too bad. I was more turned off by how much it actually cost. I think it's like $140 within Ontario. The gender change actually takes a little bit more pain to have to go through. I think you actually have to go through a registered doctor, therapist to sign something, give the okay, and stuff like that. And so this kind of segues into the help of a family member's support, or family members mean the world to you. I think I'm pretty fortunate in that regard, that you're basically surrounded by moms and siblings that are like, oh, here's a coat I don't use, or here are some bras I don't use anymore. That stuff really adds up. And so a lot of the info that the sex change document needed, a lot of it my mom knew. She basically got the people that she knew to sign it, because I'm away from everywhere that I was born in. And so when you have to get information like, who was the doctor that conceived you? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm like 2 hours away from whoever that is. Now that my name is changed and my gender is legally changed, I have a lot of that to thank from my mom. My mom and I don't see the world the same way. We may not agree on certain things, but I do have her to thank that you don't basically gotta out yourself to people, because they're confused, like, wait, it says this, but you're actually this. Even at my bank, it's a pain, because they need your driver's license to verify doing stuff, and I don't have a driver's license, and I'm like, here's my health card, this is my legal name, and then I have to hand them my passport with this dude sticking out right on front of it with a different name, and then I feel so embarrassed because you basically can't accept my health card. I hate that. Finding a partner is a big thing with your transition. Now, it's very difficult for trans people to find a partner, and I think in my personal experience, it is also very difficult when you are a trans woman and you are looking for a woman. That was a rude awakening to me, where at some point, the summer of 2019 actually, it hits you like a tidal wave as to sort of how lonely you are. And I think one of the big important things I needed was I needed a woman to be attracted to me and love me for being a woman, for who I was. Times and examples you sort of see that kind of happening is when the trans woman was originally their husband. And even again, you know, that doesn't always work out. But eventually, I did find someone. I don't know if she really cares. I'm outing her. Her name is Crystal. She's quite a little older than me. She's a little bit of a MILF, and she's one of the most amazing people I've ever known. Yeah, I couldn't be without her, honestly, because there was one time she was in the hospital. For those 3 or 4 days, I was lost in my demons like crazy. I was like in my head, sleeping alone, doing stuff alone at home. It's brutal. Maybe that's the feeling spouses get when they say, when I don't sleep with that person, like in the same bed, I get nightmares all the time. That's also very important. You need to find someone who loves you for who you are. Figuring out oneself. I try not to get into a lot of this on my channel. For one thing, I don't think I'm quite there. And secondly, that's not what this channel is meant for. Big advice I could give you is just because you come out doesn't mean you've figured out yourself. Doesn't mean you have everything figured out. Doesn't mean you've fully understood all of the feelings that you've had. I'm only in my 3rd year. There's still some of those nights. There's still some of those nights. The big thing I would say is, I'll leave it at this. If you experience and feel like self-deprecation, self-loathing, shame, sexual shame, and guilt, I've been there. And I'm not gonna act like I've overcome everything. The big thing you have to understand is you kind of have to be a little more introspective and understand, what are these things I feel about myself? What of these things are choices I made or intentionally made? Or are these things stuff that inevitably happened? It's almost like with certain experiences, did you know you were doing this? Or did you know that it would have a reaction to an everyday person? When you're born a certain way and you do things that feel naturally okay to you, and it has a reaction to someone around you, you've got to kind of go into, it's like the Goodwill Hunting thing. Like, I'm not saying all of it has to be like abuse, but it's not your fault. It's not your fault. That's a huge, huge thing. You kind of have to go like, okay, this thing just happened, right? Future plans. We are talking about my passport. I want to get my passport done. I have to figure out what the passport is going to entail, because that is the one piece of information apparently you can't change until like the next 5 years, which is crazy because if you're trans, this is not the same person that is on that thing. I think they'll probably give me leeway on that. I'll have to look into the Ontario or Canadian guidelines in terms of how to fix sort of stuff like that. Laser hair removal, I am going to get done when COVID ends and I have a little bit more money. This is gonna go because I am so sick of having to deal with it. I am sick of seeing no progress. I don't like being in pain for no progress. The other thing, that guy's gonna go, I think very, very soon, because this is a big thing when you're transitioning as well. Don't be an idiot with your money. I will see eventually when I sort out my finances. This is one of the operations I am probably most prioritizing right now, besides the facial hair, because it's the only thing I find that still deeply clocks me. Because at my work, there was one worker who saw me and questioned if I was a guy because there's a mask here. This thing is jutting out. And one of the things I'm most self-conscious of, I hate my profile the worst. And I find if I get rid of my Adam's apple and eventually my nose protrusion, that will help me overcome that. And that segues into FFS. FFS, facial feminization surgery. It's very difficult to get this done for the everyday person. It almost never happens because of how expensive it is. I think it's something around $50,000 depending on what needs to get done. I do know I'm very self-conscious about my jawline, my brow bone, my nose, the size of my lips. Adam's apple, I don't know if they include. Hair transplant could definitely give me a hand. I'm sorry, I'm all about transformation. If you have the power in your soul to be able to do whatever it is you want to do to your body, then do it. Bottom and top surgery. So, it's a little TMI. I understand that, I realize that, but I'm making tucking videos. So, if I know how to tuck, then you sort of know a little bit more about me. I am a pre-op trans woman. I am contemplating bottom surgery. I'm contemplating it. The changes that hormones do to that area of me, I feel like has solved a lot of the dysphoria that did occur in that area. And top surgery, the thing is my boobs, I think, are still growing, so I don't know if I'll be like, oh, it's not enough, and maybe down the road I'll be like, I want them a little bigger. But with bottom surgery, that is a big, big, big decision that shouldn't be taken lightly. And I want to be absolutely sure that that is fully what I want to do. So there it is. I filmed this for an hour, and this is the second hour of doing it, but hopefully that gives you an insight into what an MTF journey could be, and in the aesthetic sense, what it will entail. If you ever want to talk about your experience, if you're struggling trying to come out, I want you to know that I am here. I am limited in my knowledge, and I'm 22. I've not been married, and I don't have kids, so that's a whole other animal. If you just want to shoot the shit about your sexuality and stuff like that, because a lot of times these are emotions that we tend to hide and push away. And I'm finding that if I wasn't so discouraged by a lot of the feelings I had, I would have transitioned a lot earlier, I believe. And of course, for the purpose of this channel, if you do have any questions concerning beauty advice, please comment down below. I am not a big YouTuber, so I will surely answer all of your questions. Stay beautiful, everyone. Feels great to be here. Feels great to be on the other side. Here's a video the algorithm wants you to watch, and here is my most recent video. All the best in your individual journeys.